The alien space station hung silently above a lifeless planet. Its dark steel walls reflected the faint glimmer of distant stars. Inside, cold corridors stretched endlessly, lit by pale blue lights that flickered now and then. The station was quiet, but the silence was heavy, filled with the low hum of machinery and the occasional footsteps of patrolling guards. In one of the deepest cells, a human prisoner sat on the cold floor. His name was Ethan. His hands were chained, but he had long stopped resisting. Years of captivity had made him quiet, thoughtful, and careful. He could feel the eyes of the alien guards outside, watching every movement, waiting for the slightest mistake. Yet despite his chains and weakness, he studied everything. Every shift of the guards' shadows, every hum of the machines, every sound of the ventilation ducts. He was learning. Ethan's cell was small. The walls were smooth metal, and the floor was cold enough to make his body ache. A small slit allowed a pale light to enter during certain hours, but it was never enough to warm him. The aliens called him the human experiment, though no one spoke his real name. Many had come before him, and most had disappeared into the labs for testing. He did not know where the others had gone. Only the screams sometimes reached him. He had learned to survive by watching, waiting, and keeping silent. And then there was her, the vampire princess. She came rarely, walking down the corridors with a slow, deliberate step. Her pale skin shone under the dim lights, her eyes glowing faintly red. She was younger than the legends described, but there was a sharpness in her gaze that made even the guards uneasy. Every time she passed, Ethan felt a strange energy. Something about her presence made the air heavier, as if the station itself knew she had arrived. Today she came closer than ever. Ethan had heard the low murmur of the laboratory doors opening. Guards whispered in the alien tongue, their voices sharp, nervous. The princess's footsteps echoed, soft but confident. When she entered the room, Ethan felt an unexpected tremor, not in himself, but in her. She paused, her glowing eyes locking onto him. For a long moment she did not speak. She only looked, and the world seemed to shrink around him. "Is it you?" she finally whispered, her voice soft but carrying a weight that made Ethan's heart race. He froze. No one had ever spoken to him like that. No one had known him, cared for him, or even recognized him. I don't understand," he managed to say, his voice trembling slightly. The princess tilted her head, studying him as though trying to find a memory, a hint of recognition. Ethan's mind raced. Recognition? Why would she know him? He had never seen her before, not until this moment. The alien guard shifted uneasily, sensing her pause. Normally she was strict and untouchable. Today there was hesitation. A faint uncertainty flickered in her eyes. You are the one," she said quietly. Her voice carried a strange mix of fear, respect, and awe. Ethan could not understand her words fully, but the tone told him one thing. He was not just another prisoner. The princess stepped closer, her gaze never leaving him. She extended her hand slowly, almost delicately. The guards stiffened, but none dared move. Ethan felt the air around him change. It was heavy, charged, like before a storm. "I have waited for you," she murmured. Ethan swallowed hard. His mind was spinning. Who was she really? What did she mean? But deep inside he felt a strange pull, a feeling that this encounter was not just chance. Before he could respond, alarms rang out in the lab. Red lights flashed, warning signals blaring. The princess glanced at the monitors and her expression darkened. Guards moved quickly to contain the situation, leaving Ethan momentarily alone with her. You must survive," she whispered urgently. "I will help you, but you must be careful. They will not forgive weakness." Ethan's eyes widened. Help? From the princess herself? He wanted to speak, to ask questions, but the moment passed. She turned and disappeared into the corridor as swiftly as she had appeared. Days passed. Ethan could not stop thinking about her words. They haunted him, echoing in the dark corners of his mind. He watched the guards more carefully now, noting every pattern, every weakness. He realized that if he wanted to survive, he could not wait for rescue. He had to prepare. He began small. He tested the chains, tugging gently to see if they would weaken. He studied the ventilation ducts, imagining escape routes. Every sound became a signal. Every shadow became a clue. And always in the back of his mind was her face, the vampire princess who had trembled at the sight of his blood. One night, he heard a faint noise outside his cell. A small object clattered on the floor, a key. Ethan's heart leapt. He knew immediately it was from her. The guards were unaware, distracted by routine patrols, but she had risked punishment to give him a chance. With trembling hands, he picked up the key. He studied it carefully. It was small, delicate, but perfectly made. He hid it in the folds of his clothing and lay back on the cold floor, imagining the possibilities. Escape was risky, but now it was possible. He thought about why she had helped him. There was something in his blood, she had said. Something that made her pause. Something that reminded her of what? He did not know, but he understood one thing clearly. The human inside him was not just flesh and bone. There was strength, resilience, and a spark the aliens could not control. Ethan spent the next days observing the station more carefully than ever. He learned guard rotations, the schedules of lab experiments, and the weak points in the metal doors. Each detail became a piece of a puzzle, leading him closer to freedom. And always, in the quietest moments, he remembered her words. "I have waited for you." It was a promise, a warning, and a hope all at once. He did not yet know why she recognized him, or what fate awaited him. But one thing was certain, his life was about to change. In the shadows of the alien prison, a human mind worked quietly, planning, learning, and waiting. And somewhere deep inside the heart of the vampire princess, a spark of fear and fascination had been lit by the blood of a human who refused to be broken. The station continued to hum, indifferent to the small rebellions of one human and one alien princess. But in that hum, in that silence, destiny was stirring. Ethan had spent years in the alien prison, but now things were beginning to shift. The small key the vampire princess had given him rested in his pocket. He touched it every night, imagining the doors it could unlock, the freedom it might bring. He had no idea why she had chosen to help him, but he knew one thing. This was a chance he could not waste. The laboratory corridors were quieter at night. The guards' patrols were less frequent, and the hum of machinery seemed softer, almost gentle. Ethan had memorized every turn, every vent, every door in the block where he was held. He had also memorized the timing of experiments, the moments when other prisoners were taken away, never to return. Tonight, he would move. He held his breath as he slid the key into the lock of the cell door. It fit perfectly. The click echoed softly in the dark corridor, but Ethan was ready. He waited for the guard's steps to pass before pushing the heavy metal door open. The air outside was cold and sterile, but it smelled like freedom. For the first time in years, Ethan walked without chains. The princess had whispered to him that there was something in his blood, something unique that the aliens had not understood. As he moved through the corridors, he felt a strange warmth in his veins, a subtle energy that pulsed with each heartbeat. He did not understand it fully, but instinct told him it was important. Ethan reached the first vent he had studied for weeks. He removed the grate silently, sliding into the narrow metal passage. Darkness surrounded him, but he did not panic. He had learned to control fear. Each step forward was careful, deliberate. He could hear the distant echo of alien footsteps below, but he was invisible to them. Hours passed in silence. Ethan emerged in a secondary lab, filled with alien equipment and glowing screens. Scientists moved about, unaware of his presence. He stopped behind a large console, breathing quietly, feeling the pulse of his blood. It was as if the energy inside him was waking, reacting to the alien environment, reacting to the blood of the creatures who had imprisoned him. He saw a vial on a lab table, his blood, taken from him weeks ago. The label was in the alien language, but he recognized his own pattern, a thin line of numbers and symbols. Curiosity overtook caution. He approached and touched the vial. The metal table beneath his hand seemed to hum faintly. The blood inside shimmered slightly, almost as if it recognized him. Before he could examine further, footsteps approached. A group of alien scientists entered, speaking rapidly. Ethan ducked behind a console. He watched and listened. They were discussing him, their voices full of fear and excitement. "This human's blood, it is unlike anything we have seen," one said. "It may neutralize the virus completely," another replied. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. Neutralize the virus? Could it be that he carried something inside him that the aliens could not control? Could this be the reason the princess had trembled? The scientists left, taking the vial with them. Ethan exhaled quietly. He knew he had to act carefully. Every step now was crucial. If he was caught, there would be no second chance. He moved through the corridors, avoiding patrols, slipping into areas he had only seen from a distance before. He reached a chamber filled with cages where other prisoners were held. Their faces turned toward him as he passed. Some were scared, some hopeless, but a few looked at him with quiet admiration. They had heard whispers of the human who had survived the experiments. He gave them a small nod. He could not speak, but his presence alone was a promise. They might survive too. Ethan paused in front of a control panel. He had learned from observation that this device controlled the containment fields for the prisoners. If he could disable it, even for a few minutes, he could give them a chance to escape or at least create chaos. His fingers trembled as he touched the controls. He did not know exactly how the device worked, but he felt the pulse in his veins again, a strange energy guiding him. Slowly, cautiously, he began pressing buttons. The lights on the panel flickered. A low hum filled the room. He felt a surge of power through his hands. The containment fields flickered, then went dark for a few seconds. Some prisoners stirred, surprised, while guards ran to check the failure. It was enough. Ethan slipped away into the shadows, moving closer to the deeper laboratories where the experiments were conducted. There he would find answers about his blood, and perhaps the reason why the princess had chosen him. In one lab, he finally saw what the princess had feared. Alien machines tested the blood of countless humans, searching for traits, weaknesses, and resistances. Ethan realized the truth. He was special. His blood carried a latent human power, a resistance to the psychic control the vampires exerted over their subjects. This was why the princess had trembled. She recognized that he was not just another human to exploit. He was dangerous even to her people. Suddenly, a door opened, and the princess stepped inside. She looked tense, eyes scanning the room until they locked onto him. "You're awake," she whispered. Her voice was urgent but calm. "We don't have much time. Follow me." Ethan nodded, too shocked to speak. She led him through hidden corridors, areas he had never seen. She moved silently, confidently, as if she knew every corner. Guards passed nearby, oblivious to their presence. "Why are you helping me?" Ethan finally asked in a low voice. The princess glanced at him, her eyes serious. "Your blood. It reminds me of something. Someone I once knew, a human who had courage and kindness. You carry the same strength. That is why I cannot let them use you." Ethan's mind raced. Courage and kindness. Could one human really make such a difference? He had spent years surviving, hiding, planning small acts, but now it seemed that even the princess saw in him something extraordinary. They reached a small chamber. The princess opened a panel on the wall, revealing a narrow passage. "This leads to the ventilation system," she said. "It will take you closer to freedom. But beware. The deeper labs are heavily guarded." Ethan studied her face. There was fear there, yes, but also trust. Somehow she believed in him. For the first time, he believed in himself too. He followed her into the passage. The air was tight, the darkness complete. His heart pounded, but the strange energy in his veins gave him courage. He realized that his human traits, adaptability, quick thinking, and now something more, were giving him an advantage the aliens did not anticipate. As they moved, the princess explained quietly, "The experiments you have endured, they were meant to break humans. But your species? You are resilient. You survive when others would fail. You adapt. And your blood? It is special. It may be the key to changing everything." Ethan listened, absorbing every word. He had never considered that his suffering could be a weapon. That his very existence, his survival, could mean hope for others. They emerged near a secondary laboratory. Guards patrolled outside. Ethan held his breath as the princess signaled him to hide. She stepped forward alone, creating a distraction. Alarms blared as she triggered a fire suppression system. Smoke filled the corridors, forcing the guards to retreat. Ethan seized the moment. He ran silently through the smoke, guided by the princess's earlier directions. He reached another control panel and paused. Using the knowledge he had gathered over months, he disabled the security doors, opening a path deeper into the station. Finally, they reached a storage area where a small shuttle was kept. The princess handed him a small device. "This will override the docking locks. Use it when you are ready to leave," she said. Ethan's hands shook as he took it. He had come so far, yet he knew the danger was far from over. The aliens would not forgive betrayal. They would hunt him relentlessly if he tried to escape. But he was no longer just a prisoner. He was a human with purpose, with power, and with allies, even unlikely ones. The princess had shown him that survival was not enough. He could fight, he could resist, and he could change the course of events in ways the aliens could never predict. As he prepared to leave, the princess placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember," she whispered, "your blood is more than survival. It is hope, and hope can terrify even the strongest of them." Ethan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He slipped into the shuttle, activating the override device. The engines hummed, and for the first time he felt the thrill of moving toward freedom, toward something greater than himself. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The station remained dark, unaware that one human had discovered a hidden power that could challenge the vampire empire. And somewhere deep in the ship, Ethan felt a spark of confidence, the spark that had been waiting in his blood all along. The human prisoner was no longer just a survivor. He was becoming a force the aliens would never forget. The alien space station loomed like a silent predator against the black void of space. Its dark steel corridors twisted endlessly, and the faint hum of machinery echoed through every hallway. Ethan gripped the small override device tightly, his pulse racing. Every sound, every shadow could mean discovery or death. Beside him, the vampire princess moved with practiced precision. She no longer carried the air of distant royalty. Her focus was sharp, her movements calculated. The confidence she radiated was not just training, it was survival, honed over countless years in an unforgiving empire. Yet despite her skill, Ethan could sense tension beneath her calm exterior. They were both aware that a single mistake could cost them their lives. "Keep low," she whispered, pressing him into a shadowed corner as two guards passed. Their pale skin glimmered under the blue lights and their eyes glowed faint red in the dark. The guards' boots clicked on the metal floor as they moved, oblivious to the human and the princess just a few meters away. Ethan swallowed hard. His heart pounded in his chest. He had survived months of imprisonment, but now he was facing freedom on the edge of death. Every step was a risk, but it was the first step toward hope. They moved quickly, silently through narrow corridors. Ethan noticed the patterns, the way the guards moved in groups, the timing of the security drones, the hum of locked doors. He had learned these things from months of observation, but now they mattered more than ever. As they approached a junction, the princess held up a hand. She motioned to a side door. "This leads to the lower labs. It's heavily guarded, but it's the only way to reach the shuttle bay." Ethan nodded, following her. They slipped through the door and into a wide chamber filled with alien equipment. Machines hummed and glowed, displaying data he could not read, but Ethan understood one thing clearly. This was the heart of the experimentation labs. The guards here were fewer, but more alert. The princess gestured to a vent near the far wall. "We go through there," she whispered. "It will take us closer to the shuttle bay, but the path is dangerous. Be ready." Ethan felt the pulse of energy in his veins, the strange warmth he had felt since discovering his blood's hidden potential. It was subtle, but it gave him confidence, a quiet strength he could not explain. He followed her into the vent, squeezing through the narrow metal tube. The space was tight, cold, and dark. Every sound was amplified, the scrape of his clothing, the slight clang of metal against metal, but they moved quickly, inching forward with patience and precision. Hours seemed to pass in silence. Ethan's muscles ached, but the thought of freedom drove him onward. The princess occasionally whispered directions, her voice barely audible but enough to guide him through the twisting passages. Finally, they emerged near a secondary docking bay. A small shuttle waited, hidden behind crates and maintenance equipment. Ethan's heart leapt. Freedom was so close he could almost touch it, but their moment of relief was short-lived. Alarms blared suddenly, red lights flashing throughout the bay. Guards poured in from all sides, their glowing eyes scanning for intruders. Ethan and the princess ducked behind crates, weapons raised, ready to fight if necessary. "Go," she shouted, her voice fierce. "I will hold them off." Ethan hesitated, but the surge of energy in his blood made him act. He pressed the override device against the shuttle controls. Lights flickered, engines hummed to life. The docking clamps released with a loud click. The shuttle was ready, but the path was blocked by guards. The princess moved forward, her combat skills unmatched. She struck with precision, disabling guards without hesitation, Ethan watched in awe. She was not just royalty. She was a warrior. He realized then why the aliens feared her as much as they revered her. "Go, Ethan," she shouted again. "I'll catch up." Ethan did not need to be told twice. He ran, his human instincts guiding him. He slipped past guards, ducked under laser fire, and finally reached the shuttle. He jumped inside and sealed the hatch. The engines roared, and the shuttle lifted from the docking bay, dodging patrol drones and laser turrets. From the viewport, he saw the princess fighting with unmatched skill. She moved like a shadow, fast and deadly, her red eyes glowing in the dim light. Ethan's heart clenched. She was risking everything for him. He realized for the first time the depth of her trust and the danger she faced. The shuttle rose into space, leaving the station behind. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him, but the danger was far from over. The alien fleet would soon be alerted. The princess was still inside the station, and he did not know if she could escape. He activated the shuttle's comm system. "Princess, are you okay?" he called. There was a pause. Then her voice came through, calm but urgent. "I am alive. For now, go head toward the outer rim. The station will not follow immediately, but they will send patrols." Ethan nodded even though she could not see him. His mind raced. He wanted to go back to help her, but he knew it was impossible. She had chosen this path for both of their survival. As the shuttle glided through space, Ethan began to think about what she had said earlier, about his blood, about the human who had once helped her. His mind flashed with questions. Who was she talking about? How did humans influence her life? And why did his blood carry such power? He reviewed everything he had observed in the labs, the experiments, the readings, the whispers of the scientists. His blood was different. It was resistant, powerful, and unique. Perhaps it carried something the aliens had never expected. Perhaps it was the key to changing everything. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the hum of the shuttle's engines. Ethan tried to sleep but could not. His thoughts kept returning to the princess, to the station, and to the strange connection they now shared. He realized that the human he had been, the prisoner, was gone. A new Ethan was emerging, confident, aware, and ready to face what came next. Suddenly, the comm system crackled. The princess's voice came through again, calmer now. "Ethan, I must tell you something. Before you were taken, before any of this, I met humans once. A long time ago on a distant planet. One of them saved my life. He showed me courage, kindness, and hope. Things my people do not value. Your blood, it carries the same spark. That is why I trembled." Ethan listened, stunned. The pieces began to fall into place. She had recognized something in him. Something beyond survival. Something deeply human. He felt a strange pride mixed with awe. Humans were not just survivors. They were capable of inspiring even alien royalty. "Your blood, your presence. It gives me hope," the princess continued. "Not for myself, but for what humans can become. That is why I help you. That is why I risk everything." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, a quiet fire igniting. He understood now why the princess had chosen him, why she had given him the key, why she had fought to save him. Humans were not weak. Humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of changing fate itself. The shuttle approached a small, hidden asteroid field. The princess had told him this route was safe, though dangerous. Patrols rarely came here, and sensors were weak. Ethan guided the shuttle carefully, weaving between asteroids, using every skill he had learned during his captivity. Finally, they reached a remote landing site on a small moon. The surface was rocky, barren, but hidden from patrols. Ethan landed the shuttle smoothly. He stepped out, breathing the thin, cold air. He looked at the stars and realized he was free. For now. The princess joined him shortly after, moving silently but gracefully. Her expression was serious, but there was a hint of relief. She had survived. They had both survived. Ethan studied her closely. "Why help me? Why risk so much?" he asked. She smiled faintly, though it did not reach her eyes. "Because you are human. Because you carry something my people cannot understand. Because hope sometimes comes in the smallest forms, even in blood." Ethan nodded, understanding the truth of her words. He realized that humans, even as prisoners, even as the weakest, could inspire fear, respect, and hope, even in the hearts of alien royalty. Together, they looked at the stars, knowing that their journey was far from over. The alien empire would not forgive them. Patrols would come, fleets would search, and dangers would follow. But they also knew something the aliens had never anticipated. Humans never gave up. Humans adapted. Humans survived, and sometimes humans thrived. For the first time in years, Ethan smiled. The prisoner inside him was gone. A new chapter had begun. A chapter where humans were no longer powerless. A chapter where courage, resilience, and the spark of life itself could challenge empires. The cold void of space stretched endlessly around them. Ethan's shuttle glided past asteroids, the small engines humming softly. He had never felt this sense of freedom before, but it was tinged with tension. Every star could hide an enemy. Every shadow could conceal a fleet. Beside him, the vampire princess watched the sensors closely. Her glowing eyes flickered red as she scanned the dark stretches of space. "They will find us," she said, her voice low but steady. "The Empire will not forget this betrayal. They will send patrols, destroyers, everything. We must be ready." Ethan nodded, gripping the controls. His mind raced, thinking of what the princess had told him. How his blood carried resistance to their virus. How it could affect them in ways they had never anticipated. A small spark of hope lit inside him. Humans were not just prey, they could fight back. The shuttle passed the outer rim of the system. Sensors flickered, detecting movement. Ethan froze. A squadron of alien ships appeared, sleek and black, moving with deadly precision. They were destroyers hunting without mercy. The princess leaned close. "Prepare yourself," she said. "You have power they do not understand. Use it." Ethan's pulse quickened. He felt the warmth in his blood again. The same energy he had discovered in the labs. It pulsed through his veins, subtle but strong. He realized he could channel it, even in small ways, to disrupt the aliens. But he had never tried it before, not on living targets. His mind focused. Survival was no longer enough. He had to fight. The first destroyer locked onto them. Its weapons glowed, ready to fire. Ethan felt the pulse in his blood respond. A strange energy flowed from him, spreading through the shuttle's hull. The destroyer's targeting systems wavered. A bright flare of confusion flashed across the sensors. Their weapons had failed. The princess gasped in surprise and satisfaction. "It works," she shouted. "Your blood? It can interfere with their systems. Focus, Ethan." He nodded, steadying himself. He extended his hands toward the controls, imagining the energy flowing outward, disrupting their sensors and weapons. The alien ships faltered, unable to lock onto him. "Now we strike," the princess said. She activated the shuttle's small cannons, targeting one of the alien destroyers. A precise shot disabled its engines, sending it spinning into the darkness. Ethan marveled at the effect. His blood, something the aliens had feared in the labs, had become a weapon. And he had wielded it, not through force, but simply by existing, by surviving, by refusing to be broken. The other ships adjusted quickly, forming a tighter formation. Ethan's shuttle was small, but it was fast and nimble. Using the asteroid field, he weaved through the rocks, avoiding the alien fire while his blood pulsed, disrupting their targeting systems. The princess leaned closer. "You can do more. Concentrate on them, control the disruption. They fear what they do not understand." Ethan took a deep breath. He closed his eyes for a moment, focusing entirely on the energy in his veins. Slowly, deliberately, he spread it outward. The destroyer's sensors wavered. Their targeting computers failed, and for the first time, the humans were not only surviving, they were dominating. A volley of alien weapons struck nearby, but the shuttle was untouchable, guided by both human skill and human instinct. Ethan realized with a thrill he had never known that humans were not weak. They could fight. They could win. The princess smiled, a rare expression of pure satisfaction. "You see? Your blood is more than resistance, it is hope, and hope terrifies them." Ethan nodded, understanding the truth in her words. The Empire had assumed humans were prey, weak and expendable. They had never considered that the human spirit could be a weapon more powerful than any cannon, more dangerous than any fleet. The battle continued as they approached the hidden human colony on the outer rim. Alien ships pursued, but Ethan's blood disrupted their systems, slowing their advance. The princess guided him through a series of asteroid tunnels, her knowledge of space combat unmatched. Together they turned a desperate flight into a strategic attack. By the time they reached the colony, the alien fleet was in disarray. Destroyers collided with asteroids, weapons misfired, and sensors went dark. Ethan's blood had become a beacon of resistance, a human weapon that the Empire could not understand. The colony's defenses activated, welcoming them with a series of energy barriers and automated turrets. Ethan landed the shuttle smoothly on a hidden platform. People rushed to meet them, engineers, soldiers, and scientists who had been waiting for news of the missing human prisoner. Ethan stepped out, his legs trembling from the adrenaline and exhaustion. The princess followed, moving with quiet grace. She had fought, risked everything, and survived. Ethan realized she was not only an ally but a symbol, a bridge between humans and aliens who could see the value of courage and honor. One of the colony's leaders approached, his eyes wide with awe. You defeated their patrols?" he asked. Ethan nodded. "We survived," he said. "And we learned something important. Humans are not weak. We adapt, we resist, and we fight back." The leader's expression softened, hope lighting his eyes. "Then perhaps we can change the tide." The princess stepped forward, her red eyes glowing faintly. "Your people are brave," she said. "But there is more. The human's blood, the human spirit, is powerful. It can disrupt our empire, our fleets, even our experiments. You must prepare. The empire will come, and when it does, you will need more than walls and weapons. You will need courage and unity." Ethan looked around at the humans of the colony. They were ordinary yet determined. They had survived in hiding, adapting to harsh conditions, preparing for the inevitable. And now he understood something fundamental. Humans were extraordinary not because of strength or technology alone, but because they never gave up. They survived, adapted, and inspired hope, even in the darkest times. The princess turned to Ethan. "You have done more than escape. You have shown what humans are capable of. But this is only the beginning. The Empire will strike back, and when they do, humans must be ready." Ethan's hands clenched. He felt the power in his blood, the energy that had disrupted fleets, the spark of hope that had guided them to safety. He realized that humans were no longer just prey in a galaxy ruled by alien empires. They were a force that could resist, fight, and even triumph. The colony's engineers and soldiers began preparing for the inevitable counterattack. Turrets were repaired, energy shields reinforced, and escape routes planned. Ethan worked alongside them, sharing what he had learned, showing how his blood could disrupt alien systems. The humans listened, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and admiration. Night fell on the colony, the stars shining coldly above. Ethan stood beside the princess, looking out into the darkness of space. "Do you think they will come?" he asked. "They will," she said. "But now humans are not alone. You have power they do not understand, and you have courage. Together you can survive and even thrive." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. The galaxy was vast and dangers were everywhere, but he was no longer the prisoner of the space station. He was a human, a survivor, a fighter, and a symbol of hope. For the first time, he felt the full meaning of what the princess had said. Humans were extraordinary. Their blood, their spirit, their courage, these were weapons no empire could control. And the empire would soon learn that lesson the hard way. As the colony's lights glimmered below, Ethan and the princess prepared for what was next. The empire would come. The fleet would hunt them. But humans were ready. Humans adapted, humans resisted, and humans fought back. The human colony on the hidden moon buzzed with activity. Engineers repaired turrets, soldiers trained with renewed determination, and scientists studied the unique energy in Ethan's blood. He had become a symbol, a proof that humans were more than prey, that even in the face of an empire, they could fight, adapt, and survive. Beside him, the vampire princess moved silently, observing the preparations. Her red eyes scanned the horizon, her mind calculating every possible outcome. Though she had once been part of the empire, she now stood firmly with the humans. Her trust in Ethan and in the human race had grown with every battle, every narrow escape, every moment she had witnessed their courage. Ethan adjusted the controls of a small shuttle, reviewing the patrol routes of the alien fleet. Sensors had detected multiple destroyers moving toward the colony, their engines glowing faintly in the darkness. The Empire had learned of their escape, and now the humans would face the full wrath of their pursuers. But Ethan no longer felt fear. He felt strength, the power in his blood, the courage in his heart, and the unity of the humans beside him. They were ready. "We need to strike before they arrive," Ethan said, turning to the princess. "If we wait, they will surround us. But if we attack strategically, we can disrupt their fleet and buy time for the colony. She nodded. Then we strike together. I will guide you through their formations. Your blood. It can weaken their ships. You must focus. Hours later, Ethan and the princess led a small strike team of human pilots through the asteroid field. The aliens had advanced ships faster and stronger than any human vessel, but they had not anticipated the humans' ingenuity. Using the terrain of the asteroids, the humans moved unpredictably, striking and retreating, disrupting enemy formations. Ethan felt the pulse of his blood again, stronger now than ever. As he concentrated, the energy flowed outward, interfering with the destroyer's systems. Engines misfired, weapons jammed, and sensors flickered. The alien pilots were skilled, but they had never encountered a human who could affect their ships simply by existing. Keep going, the princess shouted. They cannot understand what is happening. Confuse them, strike fast. The humans followed his lead, moving with precision and courage. Small shuttles darted between destroyers, striking vulnerable points. Ethan targeted the largest ship, a command destroyer, and focused the energy in his veins. The ship's systems shuddered, alarms blaring as engines failed. The humans struck in unison, and the destroyer spiraled into the void. From the colony's surface, the humans watched through long-range sensors. Cheers erupted as they saw the alien fleet faltering. For the first time, humans had fought back and won, not just survived, but triumphed. The princess guided Ethan to a strategic position above the colony. Your blood is a weapon, yes, she said, but strategy is just as important. Humans fight best when they are clever, united, and brave. That is why they fear you. Ethan nodded, understanding the full meaning of her words. Humans were never the strongest physically, but they were adaptable, intelligent, and fearless when they believed in something greater than themselves. Their blood was a spark, but their spirit was the fire. The alien empire regrouped, launching a final assault. Larger ships emerged from hyperspace, intent on crushing the human colony. But Ethan and the princess were ready. Humans manned the turrets, coordinated shuttle strikes, and used every advantage the asteroid field provided. Ethan concentrated again, sending the energy from his blood outward. The largest destroyer's systems faltered, weapons shutting down in critical moments. The princess led a direct strike with her own ship, disabling multiple vessels. Together, humans and the princess created chaos, turning the tide of battle. Amid the fighting, Ethan noticed something extraordinary. The aliens' psychic control over their own soldiers weakened whenever he used his energy. Confused pilots faltered, communication broke down, and discipline collapsed. Humans exploited every gap, turning the battle from defense into offense. On the ground, the colonists joined the fight. Automated turrets fired with precision. Energy barriers held against boarding attempts, and engineers launched decoy drones to mislead the aliens. Every human contributed, showing ingenuity and courage far beyond what the Empire had expected. In the midst of battle, the princess approached Ethan's ship via comms. You are extraordinary, she said. Not because of your blood, but because of who you are. Humanity is incredible. Ethan felt pride swelling in his chest, not arrogance, but purpose. It's not just me, he replied. It's all of us. Humans never give up. We survive, we adapt, we fight back, and now, we show them we can win. The battle raged, but slowly the humans gained ground. Destroyers exploded in the void, their twisted wreckage drifting in silence. The alien fleet, unprepared for such resistance, faltered, then retreated. Their empire would not easily forget this defeat, but for the humans, it was a victory, a proof that they could challenge even the strongest foes. When the dust settled, Ethan and the princess returned to the colony. The colonists greeted them with cheers and tears, embracing the humans who had led the defense. Children looked at Ethan with wide eyes, imagining a future where humans were never powerless. The princess stood beside him, observing the celebrations with a calm smile. Your blood, your courage, it saved lives. But more than that, it inspired hope. Humans are no longer just survivors. They are warriors, leaders, and heroes. Ethan shook his head. It wasn't just me. It was all of us, humanity. We never give up. That is our strength, she nodded, her eyes glowing faintly. Yes, and now humanity has a choice. You can remain hidden, or you can rise and show the galaxy what humans are capable of. Your people have power beyond what the Empire imagined. Ethan looked around at the humans of the colony, at their ingenuity, courage, and unity. He realized she was right. Humans had always been underestimated, dismissed as weak and fragile. But now they had proven something extraordinary. Humans could resist, fight, and even inspire fear in those who believed themselves invincible. Over the following days, the colony repaired ships, reinforced defenses, and prepared for future battles. Ethan trained with the pilots, teaching them how to exploit the weaknesses of the Empire's fleet. Scientists studied his blood, understanding how its unique properties could be used strategically. Every human had a role, every contribution mattered. The princess remained by Ethan's side, offering advice, guidance, and insight into the Empire's tactics. Though her loyalty had shifted, she never forgot her roots. She understood that humans had something her empire lacked: courage, resilience, and the ability to inspire hope. One evening, as the twin moons of the hidden planet rose, Ethan stood on a cliff overlooking the colony. The stars sparkled above, and the air was crisp and silent. He felt the pulse of his blood, the energy that had disrupted fleets and inspired fear. But he also felt something deeper, the unbreakable spirit of humanity. The princess joined him silently. "Do you see it?" she asked. "The galaxy underestimates humans. They never believed you could fight, adapt, and survive. But now they know. They will never forget," Ethan nodded. "It's just the beginning. Humanity will not be afraid anymore. We will fight, we will adapt, and we will thrive. That is who we are," she smiled faintly. "Yes, and together we can show them what that truly means. Humans and allies united, fearless, and unstoppable." Ethan looked out into the galaxy, feeling a quiet determination. The Empire had underestimated them, but the humans had risen. From the blood of a single prisoner to the courage of an entire colony, humanity had proven it was extraordinary.